Oh, hello. Um, oh man, do I have a project for you today? Oh man. So, okay, today I'm going to be painting this bad boy. For those of you that have played Nier Automata, you know what this is, and I'm sure that there are some of you that know what it is anyway. But I 3D printed this. And right now, on this paper, it doesn't look like much. However, this thing is five, like over 5 feet long, not quite 6 feet. I'm just, I've been holding it here with one hand. I'm gonna slowly like try and, so here's the blade. I can't get it all in frame. There's a wall here. Um, wait. Uh, so here's the handle. Oh wow. Very cool, very big. If you look at like my hand for comparison, this thing is huge. I don't have the tassel thing on the end yet. I'm going to be adding that later. It'll be like a separate paint job, but this is the main body. We got the cross guard. We got the little cloth bits. I just hit the pommel against the wall because it is, it's so, it's so long. Okay, well, um, I need to paint this. I'm going to be painting this today. So let's set it down. Oh my. This, uh, there's there's really no way to fit it all in frame. So I'm just gonna leave it right there for now. But yeah, this is what it's going to look like. Oh, this is ridiculous. This is so this is so crazy. I think the first obvious thing that needs painting is the blade. Sword time, indeed. Have you seen it? uh, I can't. I can't fit it in the whole frame. Like it's just. It's ridiculous. But yeah, the first thing that I'm gonna have to do is tackle this blade. Like holy cow, this is ridiculous. For the blade, I have some silver sterling, folk art metallic. I'm going to be using a lot of this paint. Usually this paint is like a 3-coater. Takes 3 coats to do its job right. Click. Gonna pour it. I'm just gonna pour a bunch of it because holy cow. This is a big sword. All right, here we go. You know, I have had this sword sitting in my workshop for over a week, for sure. Um, Maybe even more than that. I can't remember. Oh, well, actually, okay. This silver paint is actually going on pretty nice. I'm going to probably still have to do 3 coats, but it's looking it's looking pretty good right now. I have my widest brush for this job because I kind of want to get this blade done relatively quickly. I mean, I'm not trying to rush it, but this is going to be the most time consuming part of the project, so anything to speed this up is really going to help out here. Holy cow. Oh, I painted the table on accident. That's fine. Hey, Luke. Yeah, that's me. That's my name. My name is Luke. Hello. this this is ridiculous. uh, I mean, when I first got this model, I thought, wow, yeah, this is just a katana. Nothing too crazy. Katanas aren't that long. Yeah, this thing is jumbo. This thing is just mega jumbo size. It's insane. Oh man. I don't know. I'm gonna have to like slide this blade down once it gets too far away from me, but oh wow. Yeah, I'm thinking 3 coats of this silver. This is the same silver that I used um, for my Master Sword model, which if you've seen my website, you'll know what that looks like. Um, this silver is just a really good, like bright silver, like I don't know, it's good for the lighter colored swords. And this isn't necessarily a lighter colored sword by any means, but um, it it has like different tones of metal in it. There's this tone of metal, which is I'm using the sterling silver for, but there's also a different shade of metal which is going to be in the cross guard actually. How am I going to balance this? Like this? Yeah, that'll do. uh, yeah, there's a darker metal. I'm going to be using gunmetal gray for the darker metal. You guys know how much I love gunmetal gray. Oh man. Look look at this. It's insane. It really is. Almost to the tip of the blade here. I suppose I could. Man, I need to figure out what part of this sword I'm going to do after this because I think I'm going to save the other edges of the blade until a little bit later, but just enough for this coat of the silver to dry at least. Yes, the longest boy that there ever was. Okay, how am I gonna do this? I'm thinking what I'll do is I will rotate this around. Gonna flip it all the way around. Bring it right here. So it's balancing like this. Ooh, wow. Just got to get this part here. Yeah, so I'm looking at my reference image and I decided to do the 2 different colors of metal. Nothing crazy. I didn't want to like try to do chrome. Chrome is very hard to work with, and I usually find that silver just looks better in its place. If there's a sword that is just so iconically chrome, I'll try to use chrome again, but like chrome is so hard to work with. I mean, it's not hard to work with. It's hard to make look good. It just does not look good sometimes, most of the time, because any imperfections like in the sword are just so visible. Okay. Gonna get this edge here. Mm-hmm. It's one side of that. I think I'm going to actually rotate it again. There's going to be a lot of rotating in this video, or in this stream, I should say. Oh, all right. More silver. I wonder, looking at the camera, they don't really show up that much, but there are some seams where you can see that the pieces were connected at a certain point. And in this case, it was a little unavoidable because there were some very big gaps in between the different pieces of the blade. And the reason this was, so this blade is curved, and usually I try to put a rod of some sort in the core of my projects just so that they're more stable. A metal rod would not work in this case because of the curve. The metal rod would not curve as easily, and therefore it just would be impossible to glue. So I used 2 wooden rods instead, and they still put up a fight. They still put up a lot of resistance. And it left some pretty big gaps in between the pieces that I had to fill with clay or other filling material that I had. And that's just how it was. It was pretty unavoidable. So there are some visible seams around, but they're not that bad. They are not that bad at all. Now I have to hold it. I have to hold this whole thing so that it's up. So I can do this. Just get this edge. I think I'll have almost the perfect amount of silver for this. I think I'm going to have to do some trickery here. It's hard to paint with only one hand. You wouldn't think that's the case, but that's definitely the case. It's hard to paint with only one hand. You have one hand holding the thing and the other hand painting the thing. It's just barely enough for the first coat here. It's already looking pretty good, honestly. Okay, gotta rinse off my brush because we need to move on to another color already. I'm going to do one whole side of the sword before I move on to the other side, just so that I know I can set the sword down without it getting a lot of paint on my table. I have a new piece of cardboard for drying my brushes. It's huge. It's a big boy, big piece of cardboard. I don't know what the lizard heads like. Are you reacting to the cardboard? Oh man. Oh yeah, thank you. This is a cool project. This is the longest sword I've ever made, and it might stay that way for a long while unless someone requests a different sword from this game, Nier Automata, or if someone requests like Sephiroth's sword, because his sword is 7 feet long. This is about 6. Okay. I think I'm actually going to move this now so that the blade hangs off the table. Doesn't matter, you guys don't need to see what I'm not painting. And I think I'm going to try and do the cross guard right now, which, you know, is this crazy detailed part. Now, I don't know how good the camera is going to pick up, but the layer lines are super evident. And that was kind of unavoidable in this case, because like there's so much detail. There's so much detail in that crossguard. I didn't want to get rid of any of it, so I didn't risk sanding it. I just thought if I sand this, it's going to remove all this detail. So I'm just gonna paint over it, and after the clear coat it'll be a little bit smoother, but these layer lines are just gonna be here. Alright, I poured out some gunmetal gray, and I'm going to move on to painting the crossguard with a different brush. It's a lot darker, as you can see. Look at how dark that is. One thing I noticed about gunmetal gray is that it's a lot smellier than most paints. I don't know why. That's just how it is. It has a distinct smell. I can smell it. I'm going to do some repositioning here. Getting a good camera angle for this is so hard. Please understand. I gotta move stuff out of the way. Oh, hey, so check this out. This is the tassel piece here. It's gonna go into this little ring at the end. And this is the chain that's cut in half. I'm gonna just super glue that together. That's what's gonna connect it. I haven't added in the actual cloth tassel yet, but that's gonna be like one of the last things I do. Because that's just how it is. Oh, if I could just rotate this a little bit more, that'd be really good. Oh, yeah, that's better. I'm gonna paint the underside of it here for the camera. Very dark. Very good, in my opinion. I think the gunmetal gray is going to need 2 coats, maybe 3. I think it's more likely to need 3 on this one just because there's so many little specks of white, tiny detail. Yeah. With this. I think this is like the 3rd time I've said this, but I don't know how good that camera is picking up the details, but if you guys can see, like right about here, there's some cracks. And the cracks are actually clay cracks, because that's where I had to make the seam on this sword. I had to fill that gap with clay. And when I sprayed primer on the clay, it was super cold. It was like negative 30 degrees. And the clay cracked. The clay actually cracked because of how cold it was when I sprayed it. But it still has retained its smooth to the touch texture. And it's not like it's going to shatter, but it is cracked right now. But that'll only be visible with the primer, so that's fine. It gave me a little scare though. I thought it was going to fall apart, but it's actually still stable. Like I said, I had this whole project ready like weeks ago. Maybe not weeks ago, like a week ago. I'm going to do a little bit of painting that you guys are just not going to be able to see, unfortunately, which is the other side of the cross guard. Unfortunately, just because of how long the blade is, if I rotated it around, it would knock my camera over. So I'm just gonna try and quickly get this coat of gunmetal gray on the opposite side of the cross guard here, and then I will move on to yet another color. Because, oh, actually, there is another part of this sword that uses the gunmetal gray color. It's the pommel metal. So I might do that too while I have the gunmetal gray out and about. Oot and a boot. Just trying to be a little bit quick. I'm not rushing, but I'm just trying to be a little bit quick. Oh man, I love how the gunmetal gray looks though. I know I said it a lot in the folding blades stream, but oh man, this is such a good paint. Probably the best metallic, if I'm being honest, from folk art. I haven't tried all of the metallics, so maybe I'll find another one. Oot and a boot. Yes. I'm pretty close to Canada, but I'm not Canadian. Almost there. Okay. And I think I'm at the point where, yeah, I'm gonna just use the cap. I'm gonna use the old cap trick. You know the cap trick. You guys all know the cap trick, right? It's okay if you don't. I didn't really give it a name last time, but it's where not Canadian, are you, eh? Disappointing. Wow. Ouch. Oh, just gonna move this. Please balance. It's balancing. Good. I am going to keep a hold on it though. Alright, cap trick time. Shake up the gunmetal gray. Thank you. Thank you, Tesero Insecto. Or Takero. Takero. Or Tesero Insecto. You know the cap trick. Bam. Cap. That's a cap full. A cap full of gunmetal gray paint. Gonna use it on this part. Right here. All of these details on the pommel are the gunmetal gray color. And it doesn't really matter if I make a mess with the gunmetal gray because the rest of the pommel is black. And oh man, the black that I have, which is literally just apple barrel black, super cheap stuff, it's so potent. It's such a like solid color. It can cover up anything. So I'll be a little bit more meticulous at that. Is this the long sword? Yes. Yes. I'll pay you to eat paint on stream. I don't feel like getting sick and dying. Not today anyway. Maybe another stream. Ask me next time. Maybe I'll do it on a different stream. Specifically if it's the black that's strong. It's not potent like that. It's not potent like that. It's potent as in, oh man, it sure do cover. It sure do cover other paints good. Only takes like 2 coats too. It's crazy. You'll see when I get the black paint out. You're gonna like lose your mind. Just kidding. You probably won't. DIY stomach pumping? Oh, I misunderstood. I don't know, Rutvern. I think that you know more about what you're talking about than you're letting on. This is a painting stream. We talk about paints on this stream. Yeah, I'm just being real messy. It doesn't really matter what I do right here. I mean, it does, but like, not to the very end where the black is going to be. It doesn't matter what I do because I'm gonna have to do some super detail stuff once I get the silver all done here. The gunmetal gray. Bam, 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 bam. So I can't see all of the pommel right now, and I'm just going to leave that for the other side when I get to that point. All right, this is going to be the 4th time I've said it, but I don't know how well you can see things with the camera. But if you look at the handle right now, you might be able to see just how detailed this model is. It's insane. It is insanely detailed. It has like the individual stitching of the katana, like handle cloth. I don't know what the word for that is. Hold it up to the camera like beauty vloggers. I would, but there's paint on it. I'm going to be letting it dry here, and maybe when it's dry, I will hold it up. I have paint on so many different places right now. I don't want to get paint on my hand or on parts of the project where they shouldn't be. Remind me if I forget though, because I do want to show you how detailed this handle is. It's absolutely ridiculous. Okay, I think I have this all covered here. There might be a few spots I'm missing, but I'm going to have to do a second coat anyway, so it's the first coat. Doesn't really matter. Okay, I think I'm going to be done with the gunmetal gray at this exact moment in time. Dupe. Come over here. Water, I need you. Clean my brush. Now what do I do next? Oh boy. I suppose I could get the black out. The black would probably be good. I won't do the pommel yet, because that is still very wet gunmetal gray, but there's a few black details. I'm gonna have to pick up the sword and flip it around. I'm not gonna hold it up to the camera yet because, like I said, there are some things that are still wet around here. I don't want to just hit my camera with stuff. Okay. I think this should be good. So, okay, there's 2 cloths. If you can see on this, there's 2 cloths. There's a black cloth and a white cloth. And they're both wrapped around this part. So the one that's closer to the gunmetal gray is the black. So I'm going to take a nice, like, I think this is actually a watercolor brush, but I use it for doing more precision details. Look how old this black is. You can't even see the label. I've used it so much and it's lasted so long that I can't see the label or anything. And for the black, I'm just using the cap because I don't want to pour black into the thing. My little paint palette. So yeah, let's get this lower cloth here. Bam. Ooh. It is such a solid black. Wow. Yeah, this black only needs 2 coats, and like sometimes it can even get away with 1 coat, but um, yeah, I think that the only time that happens is when I'm not using that much of it, but here I'm using a bit. This is some real detail work here. Got to take my time on this part because this little emblem in the middle of the black part is actually going to be white, so I don't want to paint over that. It'll save me some time later. Don't want to have to do like 5 coats of white over this super potent black. Okay. Like I said, I'm just getting one side of the sword right now. So like I'm just going down like the side only as much as I can like touch or see. The rest of it I'm not bothering with because I'm gonna have to flip the sword over eventually. Doo-ba-doo. I mean, after all is said and done, like this sword's color palette is very simplistic. It's actually completely monochrome because there's only whites, blacks, silvers, and that's it. Like it's a monochrome sword. I mean, it makes my job a little bit easier just because I didn't have to get any fancy paints for this one. Like there's some previous projects that I've had where I've had to buy so many things. Anna's excited about sword. Excellent stuff. Glad to hear it. Yes, this sword is for a very good friend of mine. Her name is Anna. She plays this game that I know nothing about. Yeah, I seriously know nothing about it. Except for like there's some people that like want 2B in Smash. Baby. Yes. This is your baby. Yes, I do. Anna, because you're watching this, I'm going to speak to you directly and I'm going to say, please do not order a sword that's any longer than this. It's such a, like, I don't know. Actually, no, that's a lie. You can order a sword that's longer than this as long as it's not curved. Because the curved bit of this sword has caused me so much pain. No, I don't know what's longer than this sword. You know what else is gonna cause you pain? Please don't tell me that you're ordering Sephiroth's sword. Please don't. Wait, Armasa? What's Armasa? What is that? What don't I know? What is Armasa? Is that like is that a sword? I sure hope it's a sword. What is that? What is that? I don't know. I don't know what that is. Try again. I don't speak weeb. Then hope you don't get commissioned for Tessaiga? Tetsaiga? It's a huge curved sword. Oh no. Oh. I just looked up swords that are longer. Well, yeah. Okay. Here, I'm going to explain in great detail why this sword was a pain to glue together. Every other part of it was fine, but it is an absolute pain to glue this curved sword that is 6 feet long together. That's because I'm gonna order a sword. Oh, Persona 4. It's Persona 4. Okay. All right. Okay. Persona 4's got it beat, I guess. That's scary to think about. No, but basically, yeah, so this sword, I usually put metal rods in my swords to just super stabilize them so that they can't snap vertically. But with curved swords, I need to use metal rod. I mean, not metal, wooden rods. I need to use wooden rods in my curved swords because metal rods don't bend easily. And when you're sliding these pieces together, the wooden rods want to be straight again. Like they don't want to curve. And a lot of the time, clamps like don't hold it down in place well. So I have to hold it there with my hands while the glue dries. And because this sword was so long and it has so many pieces, this took me like over 4 hours to glue. Because I had to get a piece like in place, hold it there with like my arm muscles tensed for like 6 minutes while the Gorilla Super Glue dries. And then I had to do it again. Like, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. It took like 3 hours. Okay, sorry, wait a minute, okay. Yeah, but just, oh no. Oh, it's a spin-off. Okay, so Persona 4 Blaze Blue. Okay, so it's a spin-off. Oh, look at all these words. Tetsaiga is from Inu. This is from Nier Automata. Yes. Um, yeah, this is a Nier Automata sword. You can tell because it's massive. Just kidding. There are so many big swords out there. I found a sword that I thought would be fun to make, but it's also massive. And that sword is actually the Fight King's sword from Adventure Time. For those of you that aren't die-hard Adventure Time fans, the Fight King was a character that only lived for like one episode. And he had a sword that was twice as tall as him. So, assuming that he is like an average of like, I don't know, 5'10", maybe a little bit shorter. This dude's sword must have been like 10 feet long or 12 feet long, somewhere in there. However, it would actually be easier to make because it's gold and it's straight. Yeah, it's a gold sword. Yeah, it's a really crazy big long gold sword. But yeah, it would be easier to make than this sword because it's straight. So I could just have a metal rod that goes straight all the way through it. And that's less hassle than curved swords that are much shorter than it. Interesting, huh? Like it's all these little things. Um, okay, so on this part here, you can there's like a tiny white speck in the gold. I mean, not the gold. There's a tiny white speck. It's right here, and it's white, and there's all this black. And I think I'm just going to paint it black for now, and then do the white over it. I know I just said like, I don't want to avoid the hassle of painting white over black, but this is such a small area that I'm probably just going to be like gooping it on there. And that'll happen a little much later when the sword has its second coat of black on it and whatnot. But yeah, there is no size limit. There is no size limit to swords that I'm able to make. I mean, if you ask me to make a sword that's as tall as the sun, then we're going to have some problems, and you're going to be bankrupt for the next millennia, but it's possible. It's theoretically theoretically speaking, it's possible. There's something so satisfying about painting black over white. I don't know. I like how inky and black this is. Oh, you're familiar. You're familiar with the Fight King episode. Amazing. I'm glad that you understand because there are some really tasty swords in Adventure Time. Um, Demon Blood sword is probably my favorite, but um, I also like Finn's gold sword that he has in like the first season or however long. It actually has a name. It's called Scarlet, and I didn't know that, but the gold sword is called Scarlet. Um, I really like that sword just because it's gold, really, and it's battle damaged. I like battle damaged swords as well. So it's the ideal sword. But the Fight King sword is the same. Like it's gold, it's battle damaged, but it's also like 10 feet long. So if I was given the choice on which one to make and I had infinite resources and money, I would pick the Fight King sword. Um, and that's one that I wouldn't hesitate to model myself either. If someone like couldn't find a model for it, I would willingly make that model myself because Adventure Time has a very simple art style that I could replicate. Oh, it would be so fun to make the 10-foot long Fight King sword. It would just be so ridiculous. Boy. So these are some tough details here. There's a little ledge where the black meets the silver. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to very carefully just go along this edge, just beyond carefully. because, wow. I'm going to have to do white touch-ups eventually, but I want to avoid work there. Commissions the sword from Nier Automata. That's a reference to the Buster Sword, so it looks like it is. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, but legit, if the Buster Sword and this sword that references it are straight, they are completely doable. They are so doable. I honestly, I could do it. But of course, gonna have to find a model for that. You, as the customer, are going to have to find a model for that. You should do it, Luke. Commission me, why don't you? I will do the Buster Sword on my own accord eventually, if no one requests it, just because it's just the iconic big sword, you know? But I would rather someone requested the Buster Sword. It would probably cost like $140, maybe more. But if you're willing to pay that much, I would so make that. That's the thing. Like, it's so hard to like make really big projects like that on my own without funding because they're just so big. Is this such a huge like resource use sword? It's just hard financially. Like, honestly, the Buster Sword is just a brick. It's so cubical that it uses so much filament. I could already imagine. And the Buster Sword is actually shorter than the sword that I'm painting right now, but it would probably be like twice as expensive, if not 3 times as expensive. Actually, I don't even know how much this is going to cost on my website yet. I'm gonna guess it's gonna be around 100. So yeah, the Buster Sword might be like 200. Yeah, I mean, like, even though the Buster Sword is shorter than this one, just because it has that thickness to it, it would use so much more filament than this. This sword is thin. It's thinner than most. When you pick it up, it wobbles. It's got that like wobble to it because of how long it is and how thin it is. But the Buster Sword is just beefy. Oh, I've seen Margie's Master Sword, and I'm high key thinking of commissioning you for one. I really appreciate your consideration of commissioning. If okay, actually, so I just did some math the other day on the Master Sword because I'm trying to figure out the price listings on my website. And I think that the Master Sword would be around 80 or $85. Probably closer to 85. If this price is daunting for you, I completely understand. But the Master Sword is a decent sized sword too. I when I haven't got any like things on this yet, but if you ever want to lower the price, lit, no, that's totally understandable. Okay, all right, amazing. I will continue to say though, if any customer wants to lower the price of a sword without necessarily changing it, you can request that I downscale it. And that's the best way to lower the price drastically because it uses less filament, it uses less paint, it uses less everything. It's a shorter rod, everything. And it could cut the price down significantly. So if the price is ever daunting, just know that if you request to have it downsized just a little bit even, it could save you a lot of money. And I'm glad that you think that's a fair price, because the Master Sword is probably my favorite project that I've ever made. It would give me an opportunity to not only make it a third time, but also record my process on making it. I like to think that I've become quite a pro at making the Master Sword at this point, because I've already made it twice. And I think that the paint job is near perfection at this point. Obviously, with this sword, this is the first time I've made this sword. It could have some flaws in the paint. Who knows? Okay, I need to move on. I need to move on to something else. Oh, wait, actually. No, I don't. I'm a liar. It's so freaking cool looking. Thank you. Thank you. I'm like referring to myself. I'm gesturing to myself. Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. I just used like the promotional artwork for the Master Sword to try and get the feel of it. The rust, especially. This might be the heaviest sword I've ever made as well. Longest and heaviest sword I've ever made. Anna over here breaking records. So the next part, I'm just continuing with the black. These little indentations where the cloth does not show, like it's not covering it up, the handle's actually black too. So underneath that cloth is black. So I'm going to try and carefully make my way in these gaps. Ooh, I just noticed something. I'm going to get this little bit here, and then I'm going to... There's actually... There's a tiny bristle of my paintbrush. Ooh! It was loose. A loose bristle. It came right out. Wow, that was weird. Moving on. Yeah, no, there's just a little bristle of my paintbrush that was loose. So it was sticking out a little bit further than the rest. That could mess things up if you're not careful. I don't really have a painting tip for that, but if you have loose bristles on your brush, rip them out. I guess that's a painting tip. Oh. Man. Yeah. This part is a little time consuming, not gonna lie. There's a lot of things. No, it's a good feeling though, just because I've been waiting to paint this sword for, over a week. It's been fully assembled and primed, just like leaning against my wall. It can't rest on any table because it's either too long for the table or it flexes too much. You don't want this thing to flex. But yeah, it's just been like leaning against my wall in a dramatic pose, like waiting for me. Please, please paint me. Its wish is granted. My wish is granted. I wanted to paint this thing. Man. Okay. Oh, wait, actually. Yes, this is fine. Never mind. I'm thinking about the future, like how I'm going to move on with my different colors that I'm doing. I think by the time I'm done with the black, I could do a second coat of silver, but I think I'm actually going to use the white. The wrap around the handle here is white, and I know that it's primed white, but it's a pretty it's not the best white in the world. It's not that bright. It's like a dark white, like a pale white that doesn't quite look like white. I don't know how to describe it. It doesn't show up on camera at all, but it's not the right white. So I have just a flat white that I'm going to use to paint the handle. That might actually be one of the last things I do, because messing up with white is not nearly as bad as messing up with black. If you mess up with black, you gotta start over. Gotta like get 3 coats of whatever to cover up a black. Slowly but surely. You guys can see that. Yeah, okay, good. You guys can see that I'm making progress on this. Right here, this one, it has a line through it. That's because that's the seam. The handle was 4 pieces. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's 4 pieces in the handle, and they're all basically the same, but they connect together a little differently from each other. And the seam is really not that visible. Well, it won't be anymore after I paint it black. That's one of those seams that I couldn't really put clay in because of how small and cramped the space was where it is. But the paint covers it up just fine in this case. Bam. That's actually looking pretty good. I'm happy with how the black is looking, because I can get a little bit of a preview how it'll look when it's actually done. The answer is good. It will look good. Bam. Heck, it looks good now. Thank you. It's still not quite completely covered on this side, covered in paint that is, but it will get there. It will get there. I suppose I should probably cover that up with black too. Hold on. Taking a little detour from this part, I'm going to cover up. There's just a little bit of this cloth here that I'm able to get now because I flipped the sword around. Going to cover that right up. Another seam, of course. There's so many seams on this project. I think this was 16 pieces. 16 total pieces. And that's not even including the little tassel or like the clippy bit. So yeah, it was a lot of pieces. Took like 6 days to print. 6 days. There we go. That looks so much better. Oh, yes. Very good. Bam. Uh, there's a few other things that I could get over on this side while I have the sword flipped over, but I'm just going to finish. I'm going to finish these little details in here. Oh, okay. So here's a real painting tip right now. This is a real one, not like the fake one that I just said like a while ago. Real painting tip. So I have a watercolor brush. It has really bendy bristles compared to acrylic brushes. Acrylic brushes, they have really stiff bristles, not the best for bending around corners and things. That's why I use watercolor brushes to get in tight spaces, because their bristles tend to bend and you can press them into things to make them fit into smaller gaps. I don't know. I don't know if anyone else does that, but this is a thing that I found out. I figured it out, I should say. I didn't like look this up or anything. This is just something that I do. Like, I'm using the wrong kind of brush to do a different type of job. And it works. It works out good. So there you go. That's a real painting tip. None of that fake nonsense. Here's another seam right here. This one I did have to put a little bit of clay into just because there was a really big gap here. This piece was so tight that I had to fill in a very large gap with clay between these two pieces. So yeah, everything I said earlier, like, oh, it's so hard to get clay in this small gap. Well, I had to do it. I had to do it for this one. I had to use like a tiny sculpting tool to get in there and make it good. I had to use like a needle to poke out some stuff. All of some leftover clay junk. Okay. Just a little. There's one more. There's one more part here it's really small. I might actually have to grab a smaller brush to get into this gap that I'm looking at right now. Yeah, probably. But before I do that, I'm going to continue. Actually, no. I'm going to clean off this brush right now. Still going to be using black for a little bit here. My water is just getting darker and darker. I started off with the silver and then the gunmetal and now the black, and it's becoming opaque. Okay, there's another brush that's drying out. Okay, you dry out. I need a smaller brush. Good thing I have one right here. It's tiny. And I'm going to use that to do a couple of things. I'm going to finish up some details over here on the other side of this bad boy. Do. Wouldn't it be cool if 2B got into Smash? That's the only character I know from Nier Automata. But I think that she'd probably have a pretty wicked moveset, not gonna lie. I watched a very brief gameplay of Nier Automata just so I could actually confirm the length of this sword because I did not think it was 6 feet long, but it is, and the gameplay proves it. Um, but yeah, I just think that 2B would have a crazy moveset with what she can do. Dual wielding, all that good stuff. Although I don't think that she'll actually get into Smash because we just got 2 anime sword girls. I don't think we need another one, and I don't think Sakurai will put another one in. I think people are already a little bit mad that we got 2 more anime sword people. Ooh-hoo-hoo. Ugh. Sorry, I have to like concentrate. I'm not used to having to concentrate. These are just such thin little boys. Oops, knocked the paintbrush off. Yeah, the just this little edge here is just such a crazy thin place to paint. Got to be extra careful. I know I'm gonna have to do like a few more layers of silver, but like I don't want to make more work. In this case, the first coat really does matter. I think that's the first time I've said that. But with black, you got to be careful. And I think the silver sterling color is actually dry. So that's good. Okay, I think that part is done. I'm going to do a few more touch-ups with the black. There's a part here that I'm going to get. I actually don't have to be that crazy detailed about it because this is meant to be cloth, so it doesn't matter if it's like not a straight line or uneven on this seam right here. But where it does matter is up here, which is what I'm going to be doing next. I'm going to slide the sword down. Just so I can see it as well as you guys. Yep. So this whole part where the little tassel part connects is black. Said it earlier in the stream. Gonna paint it black now. The black with the gunmetal gray is going to look so good when both of them are solid colors. I don't know. I just think they go together. Gotta get the inside of this little tube here as well, which is a little bit tricky because my brush isn't super long. But I think I'm getting a good majority of it. I don't have to get it super crazy good because there's going to be something in there that's going to be covering up a bit of it. Okay, here's some detail that is going to be a little bit tricky. Around here, . It's going to be pretty tricky because there isn't really a seam. And by seam, I don't mean clay seam. I mean like a transition point. There's no transition point between where the two colors meet or stop or end or anything. It just kind of slides right into each other. So yeah, that's going to be something I'll have to touch up later for sure. Probably with a smaller brush as well. Smaller brushes are for finer details. That's how it works. Get this part here. I really don't know like what to call all of these pieces of this sword. I don't know the anatomy of this sword. It's a katana. I'm not really familiar with it. I mean, like a lot of swords, you know, they have really basic terminology: handle, blade, pommel, crossguard. And I've used that terminology for this sword, but I know I'm wrong. I know that they all have different names because this is a katana. But I have not done my research. I've done my research for the painting. I have an image in front of me, but I have not done my research on the anatomy of a katana. I wonder if, how good can you guys see what I'm doing? Yeah, you can see like how I have to paint around all of these intricate dragon swirls and stuff. Oops, that was a mistake. I lost the grip on my brush a little bit. Got a tiny bit of paint on the gunmetal gray, that's fine. It's the first coat. Doesn't quite matter in this case because it's the gunmetal gray that's affected, not the black. All right. I'm really having to concentrate with this sword. There's just a lot of little gaps that I have to be really careful. I have to like hold my breath and stuff. Just gotta weasel my way around all of these tiny details. And I don't know if you're listening, but the other sword that you ordered is a lot less complex than this one. It is like 3 whole colors. 3 whole colors, and I don't know, it's just not that complex as far as painting goes. Oh, look at that. That looks good. There's another little part where I need to look at my reference image again. Oh. Oh, that part is silver. Okay. I will touch that up later, I suppose. Man, what do I do now? Uh, duh. Is there anything else that I can do with the black while I still have it out and about? Oot and a boot. Yes, just a little bit of touch up over here. Nothing crazy though. Yeah, maybe a little bit crazy. Nothing super mega crazy though. It's not going to take that long. Just a couple of strokes here and there. Make it look good. All right, I'm going to clean off this black brush. Just this little boy. I think I'm going to go back to this silver. And by silver, I mean sterling silver. So I'm going to have to flip the sword around again here. Flip it around. Flip it all the way around. Don't hit the ceiling. Bam. Wow. I'm actually going to move this here. Move this here. So this isn't, this is no longer the first coat. It's so large. Yes. Yes, it is. How long have we been recording? 1 hour, 18 minutes. Okay, so that means I can probably do another coat of the sterling silver on the blade. So this is no longer the first coat. Although it's still going to be the first coat in some places. Oh, misleading title. Misleading stream title. Ooh, I should probably close the black paint. Oh, man. Okay, there we go. Shake up the sterling silver. Pour one out with the boys. Okay, I'm going to be a little bit more delicate with the paint that I apply this time. I'm not going to try and gloop it on as much. With the first coat of silver, I usually try to do some glooping, but in this case, I'm not going to gloop on this coat because... Oh, what's going on here? Oh, all right. So I think we're going to wait on the silver. I don't think it's fully dry, even though it seems fully dry. Just gonna try it just in this one spot here that I have. I mean, I don't think it should affect it too much. I just got to be a little gentle. I'll probably wait. I think I have to wait. That's unfortunate. Yeah, I'm gonna have to wait a little longer. And if the silver isn't dry, then the gunmetal gray isn't dry either. I think... Man, what can I do? Have I eliminated all of my options? So, okay. Sterling silver, not dry. Black I just painted, so it's not dry. Gunmetal gray is not dry because the sterling silver is not dry. And that's all of my options. I really cannot do much else without waiting. So I think I'm actually going to end the stream here. You've seen me do all of the colors. You've seen the entire sword and like what colors they're going to be. So I think I am going to rename the stream to watch me. We watch paint dry. Oh no. Yeah. I'm all about the quality content. I think only a streamer that has that charisma can pull that off, unfortunately. So, yeah. You guys got a good idea of what's going to be happening. I'm going to have to do like a bunch more coats of paint on this. But, yeah. So, I think I'm going to end the stream. Tune in tomorrow. I have another sword that I'm going to be painting. I'm going to be painting the Sword of Light from Dragon Quest. Haha, Margie. Yeah, I'm going to be painting it. That's right. Your sword, Marjorie. I have it leaning against my wall over there. I primed it today. Yeah, so tune in tomorrow, same time. No, no, I'm not going to show you. I'm not going to show you. You're gonna have to tune in tomorrow at 7 o'clock in the at night, 7 o'clock at night. Yes, be angry. Yeah, tune in tomorrow to see that. Those are some more fun colors. And stay tuned for the full YouTube video on the Virtuous contract. And I will see you guys next time.